Okay, I don't know if it's live yet. I'll call it live. Though, okay, Twitch on, YouTube on. All right. So, welcome back. If you are back, welcome if you're new. Nothing crazy with the market. We'll probably take a quick view at it, but it is following prediction. So I kind of wanted to focus on crypto because I'm personally a bit excited. Good and bad excited. Good is based on my prediction so far. Prediction based on 2018. Based on how it used to go. Let me clean this up a little for broadcasting pleasure. Let me show you what I was looking at and where it is now, because honestly, it's following the pattern as I thought it would. Well, as I hoped it. As I estimated it would. I don't know if anything I follow is true or not, but here's what the pattern was. And I kind of have to drop down to a 4-hour, I believe. Oh, which is going to be a horrible time trying to get back there. Let's see, 2018. Okay. I think it was January. Oh, no. January 2019, I think it was. Right here. I think this was the... Yes, this was it. Okay. So here's what I'm basing my predictions on. In order to understand the future, one must take the past. So here's where we are now. Here's where my prediction is going, or should go, based on the past. Here's how it did go, give or take similarly. And here's how it's going now, right? So in combination with some psychological supports and resistances, numbers, 3 trillion, that's this line here, 3.6, 3.5 trillion, 2.6 trillion here. Now, it may not be up to the T, but what I really took was the shape of the past. For instance, we had a huge run up and a cool down, right? So small value, high value, low value. If you look at Bitcoin, it looks the same, just different values. You're kind of looking at a specific pattern across all crypto. That's what the total crypto market cap is. So we got to a hill, a tip here, just as we did before. We fell. Although the fall is not too similar, it is pretty quick. This goes straight down. This one goes down slower, which kind of to me tells me we have a lot more people in crypto waiting and watching to get in at a nice price. Before, we didn't have that many people into crypto, so a lot of people sold very quickly. But the catch happened here. So my estimation was a bottom of a similar scale. So if I was to measure the top to bottom, it's about a 54% drop, top to bottom, a 40% drop, give or take, right? So that was the first thing that I noticed, but I did not predict. I'm currently predicting the path we're going this way and the possible drop after, right? That's what I'm really looking at. So if we had this, I don't even want to look at this actually, I'm done with that. So currently, this first line would be a representation of a big rally. Then a cool down. Psychological level. It still kind of hits, but not really the previous high. And then another big rally. And then another cool down. And then a smaller rally. Everyone's squeezing their profits. And then a sell-off. So if this pattern is not completely apparent, it doesn't have to have the same arrows for sure. Like, it doesn't have to be perfectly the same. But you can see that we have that big rally now. We're currently in it, and we're entering the cool down phase before another big buying opportunity. What really happens most of the time is the people that sold up here made the most profit, and they're buying it back down here for another round at profits. But you can only do this so many times before confidence and skepticism comes in, because these are people trading, so they're going to squeeze as much out as they can. So a bunch sold up here, psychological level 3 trillion. Now it's gonna drop back down to a possible support level, psychological support level, 2.4-ish. Maybe it's not that aligned, I'll move that up. So call it 2.4. It's gonna drop down just like it dropped down here. The scale is not the same though. Of course, the scale of the drop down really is different. But now that we have a lot more activity, it becomes to be more organic. Here, it was mostly algorithms, it was traders, it was just people that had tools to try and, well, you can say manipulate the market or optimize their gains using psychological situations. Now this, of course, doesn't have to be perfectly aligned. I drew an arrow here, but at one point we went above the arrow, another point we went below the arrow, but we still managed to touch the tip as where I was looking at. Now we're kind of flowing down. I heard a lot about Bitcoin selling off now that the DW, one of the main, hold on, one of the main indexes, the Dow, DJI, oh yeah, it's not selling off that much, but yeah, DJI, the Dow Jones, started dropping, which somehow, I don't know, the news was trying, or observers of the news were trying to give some form of reasoning to the crypto drop. So, right, the DJI is going down, that's why crypto is going down, or Bitcoin is going down. But honestly, you can make any two things correlate together because there's so much news. You can kind of account an event reaction to any event, any other event, very easily. Right? There is no correlation in most cases, but there is pattern. Especially in the crypto market, there's no fundamentals. There's maybe certain situations in news like China banning crypto, but still goes back up. The US starting to tax crypto, and that's maybe a situation going down. But people will actually use these news as catalysts to drive the direction. So if a big whale sees there's some news, they're going to be like, oh, it's a perfect time to sell, and cause a little panic because they're going to see crypto go down. They're going to start reading about taxes, and they're going to say, oh, those two are related in some way, right? So you can never really correlate two events together. That's the lesson to be learned in any technical analysis, even fundamentals in most cases. You can consider the events to be related, but you cannot be completely sure. But you can use them as predictions in that same manner that I just described. If somebody out there as a whale is looking for a sell at a tip and they see some news of the day that's related to what's happening, they're going to use that news as an excuse to drive the market down. They're going to sell billions of dollars of their stake in a crypto, and they're going to cause a market drop, and then more people are going to sell, and then the pattern continues. So it's a very fragile system in which the actions of people actually may be caused by the news, but maybe even not because of the news, but because they're seeking some form of exit. They're looking for a reason, and they see the news, and they use that news as a reason. So self-fulfilled prophecy, whether it's the news itself, whether the tax is going to be a big change of the future, whether people are going to even care about the taxing or China banning crypto, it most likely will not matter. But the pattern does coincide with these news events, not because of the news event, but because potentially people are using those events as an excuse. So that's one thing to keep an eye on. You can't be 100% correlating two events and news articles with any sort of movement on the chart, but there is a way you can play those news articles with technicals to see if that is potentially a situation when somebody is going to actually sell. Because there's good and bad news every day about anything. That's kind of the life, the universe we live in, plus the internet universe we live in. There's news about anything at any given time, good and bad, about even a specific situation. What if I told you, I think it was the New York Times, saying that COVID was a good thing? That's a news article. Like, that's an actual news article. How can you spin COVID as a good thing? That's kind of the weird thing. Let me see. It was a New York Times. I remember reading this article somewhere. COVID proved the CDC is broken. Fair enough. There was this article. Inflation. It had to do with inflation. Ah, there you go. There you go. That's the one. Come on. It may be a good sign. I mean, really? This is one article that I didn't read. There was another article that was actually saying that COVID had some sort of hidden positivity behind it, behind the economy, behind the inflation, behind all these things. It's like anyone can spin news in any way they want. And that's what happens. To get views online, you make a drastically controversial article. And that's why news is bullshit. So keep that in mind. News comes in both sides every day about any subject. Hell, you can probably find anything written about Nazis to be good or bad, obviously bad. But there's just so many minds that look for attention that they're going to write something in any situation they want. And if you want to get views and probably be controversial, you're probably going to write the opposite of what it's actually morally feasible. So no, inflation is not a good thing. We're going to have prices of food go up. We're going to have people not able to buy food, people dying from starvation and medical issues. There's no way you can spin that as a good thing, okay? Unless maybe you're a rich person and now all your money is multiplying, your stocks and your investments and your real estate is skyrocketing, then yeah, sure, it's a good thing for you. But universally, morally, it's not a good thing because people will die from lack of food and nourishment and health because of inflation. So keep that in mind. You can find articles on any side of the rope. And this goes for crypto also. Every single day you'll find good and bad articles. The ones that make it to the broader side of the internet where people are reading it is really based on the movements of the chart. Right? People are trying to correlate movements of a chart with news. So when there's a huge dip, people are going to scatter the internet looking for an article that may explain that dip. That otherwise, if there was no dip, that article would just be brushed to the side and never even noticed. Keep that in mind. Okay, so we're really just looking at technicals when it comes to crypto. And so far, the patterns of before, we had a big up and a down. We had a big up and a down. Doesn't have to be perfectly the same. But those technical, psychological points will be your guide to possibly where it's going to go. I tried at one point to measure how many times it went up. 1, 2 would have dropped, 3 would have dropped, 4 would have dropped. Okay, and I was like, all right, I can start from here and go 1, 2, 3, 4 would have dropped. But then again, if I go further, it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and a drop, and then I gotta compensate with some of these other 5s, but it doesn't, right? Those pieces of detail don't matter. The technical points are what you are looking at when you're looking at two events. The psychological points, especially because human beings are human beings. You cannot change the habit of a human being. They can only change it within themselves. Most do not have that capability to change internal features because of the psychological factor of, I am who I am, therefore I must be the way I am, therefore I accept myself the way I am. Okay, but do you want to better yourself? Human beings are meant to adapt. That's just the overall. The reason we exist, the reason I'm going down into a rabbit hole, but the reason that we've gotten to the point we are in this universe is because we have the ability to adapt. We went from small individual tribes to big communities. That's an ability to adapt, right? If the small communities or the small individual tribes, 5 people were like, oh, I can't be a part of this big community. I am who I am. I'm antisocial. Well, they're going to die off because communities are going to win. So in the end, human beings are human beings, and the only person that can adjust the psychological settings, configurations, is that person themselves. But imagine on a mass scale how often that happens. So patterns arise because people do not change naturally. They do not have the willpower to change. Anyway, outside of psychological, because honestly, psychology is so big. This is all psychological points that I've put here. So far, I'm on the dot. I don't want to brag about it. I'm actually extremely surprised about how close we have gotten. My arrow is, one, it's not really perfectly aligned. I didn't really care for precision, but somehow I'm like, I don't know, 50 billion, 20 billion, 10 billion away, right, from the tip, but it did hit my psychological line of. So that is the first psychological location here. We have hit this. Now we're looking for another rally after a cooldown. So and so. So we're gonna have that cooldown. My personal take is on this support line because we do want a nice test of a support before we have another rally. That is a general concept. You cannot keep going up. You have to cool down, right? You have to turn off the engine, let it kind of subside for a bit, and then put more fuel in. The fuel would be the sellers coming back in. So you need people to sell, make their profits, and be motivated to come back in later with a cheaper price. So that's what we're looking at here. We're going down, we're going back. This is where my particular I don't know question mark is. I'm using another psychological support, 3.5, 3.6. Human beings love even numbers. So I'm going for 3.6, but human beings like 5s also because they kind of make even numbers every other count, 5, 10, 15, 20. And there's not only even, but it's a 0. So people love those zeros, therefore a much stronger attachment to even numbers, right? I'm also a mathematician, so I've done a lot of tutoring and teaching, and I've always found that students love even numbers way better, right? Some oddities, some special students, special in a good way, because if you can master a whole different perspective of numbers, you're capable of achieving higher awareness of mathematics, right? You can't be just stuck to even numbers. So those oddities are actually huge positives, but the majority of people love even numbers. So that's why my 3.6 up here is my potential stop for the resistance as that next rally. I also took the tip of the 4, measured it to the tip of that, 20% increase. That didn't coincide too well. There was something else I did that I cannot remember what. Maybe it was from here. 6, 20. Maybe what I did, honestly, is because we have a lot more activity. If that was 20%, and we now have double the activity in crypto because time passed and it's popular, yeah, potentially you can have a double growth resistance at a psychological value. Otherwise, 20% would probably be here, and that's too low for a 20% gain. You're looking for a bigger. But then again, I've also got an upper and a lower, so our next bounce can be anywhere in here. It could be at 3.2, right? A smaller big up. But I'm gonna say maybe it's gonna be 3.6 because it's closer to 4 trillion. It's very close to a nice even number. It is a even number in format somewhat. It's the 3.6 value, so on and so forth. So again, none of this is capable of being true. There's a probability of it being true, but I'm just working with psychological numbers to try and predict where humans might want to see the prices in the future. So we're going down, going back up, going down, going up, and then later a big winter. This is what really is important. This up here doesn't matter, right? Make your money as much as you can. If you've missed the rounds and you want to risk it, I probably wouldn't get in. I would maybe get in here, make a couple of bucks up to this line, the resistance here, sure. But I wouldn't risk going all the way up here because you never know if it's even going to get there. I wouldn't sell back when I get here because if it goes down, it'll probably go a little bit up again. But as soon as we get to, like, I don't know, call it month-wise, April, call it even earlier, just in case, February, you want to get out. Because I do predict a possible crypto winter, and this might be the case scenario of taxes. Now, the further away from our date, the less accurate or even predictable it gets. So these lines here are all a bunch of mishmash. It's not anything special. There's no way this is going to be even close to true to follow. But the resistance points are going to be followed if we break down below this. We're going to have some struggle here. If we can't pass this back up, we're going down. We're going to test it a couple of times. We'll probably test the bottom here a couple of times. Just a struggling winter case scenario. So we are currently at a pretty good place, but full disclosure, this may never even happen. We may not even go down because it depends on how the world accepts crypto, right? Right now we have a lot of countries accepting crypto. But with countries accepting crypto, we have regulations. So depending on how strict those regulations are, it may go down because people don't want to deal with that bullshit. But if those regulations are smooth and reasonable, it could stay up. But I hardly doubt governments are going to want to be making reasonable regulations. After that point, who knows if it's going to go back up? It could go back up if we see government back off from this supposedly unregulated crypto system, or another system is going to take over, right? Because as soon as government gets involved, stuff just stops working, 100%, especially when it comes to taxes. So keep that in mind. We don't know what will actually be the future. Beyond the possible up, the possible double shoulder, head and shoulder pattern, and the collapse, we don't know if we're going to be stuck down here again, or if we're going to have a huge rally further and then boom, right? This can happen if, like, there's a huge rally of institutions, if the government stays out of our business, and then people accept it globally. We are literally looking at a up forever. Well, not forever, but until the total fiat capital is liquid inside of crypto. But if governments come in, regulations are strict, people are paying more than they're actually making, then you're looking at a big drop, right? So I'm thinking this is the technical and fundamental direction because governments are not going to stay out. However optimistic we are, governments want a piece of the pie and they want to do nothing as far as the work goes behind it. They just want to they leech off of the public. So, and you can argue that government is essentially a leech, a categorical, qualitative leech on a system. right? Not a literal leech, but a qualitative leech. So that's why I'm sticking with this direction. I'm gonna follow it through. I've got my plans in, because so far I'm honestly surprised that it's even close to being. I'm watching the next few days to see if this drop happens. If this drop happens, I'm personally mind blown that anything I've just drawn is even accurate to any substantial percentage. But then self-fulfilled prophecy, right? I've personally seen the patterns, the psychological incentive behind it, and it makes sense. It makes sense that it would follow this pattern. So that's the overall crypto. Let's go into our US economy here. SPX is having some trouble. Now, will this be the end all? I doubt it. I think we may get a good drop down to here, and then a fast recovery. So something of people want to get scared. And then we have a fast recovery, but then the last possible recovery before something happens. And of course, like I mentioned, news correlates with charts because the charts are the reason the news becomes a thing, a correlation. If the chart goes down, people are going to scurry around the internet to figure out why it's going down, and they're going to start putting articles. The chart went down because, again, COVID inflation, It's like, all right, we've had COVID inflation all this time. Why is it now special? The one thing that could essentially be timed is around the December time. This is specific dating. Is the US budget deficit, right? We have a budget ceiling raised temporary until December 15th, I believe. Give it 5 days before, and you're going to have some reaction to that budget. And do I think that Democrats and Republicans are going to work together for the benefit of the system? No, they're not. They never have. They never will. They never have. It's just the way politics works. One side is causing their side to look at the other side as an enemy, and vice versa. And now you have two enemies fighting each other in the different political parties. And when you have two enemies fighting, especially if there's no third enemy to combine them together, you're just going to have chaos and you're going to have issues, right? So because of this budget, and I do not think it's going to actually be raised, I still feel we're going to have some big corrections on our hands. Very big corrections. Very, very, very big corrections. Maybe honestly 50% of where we currently are, 60% of where we are. We are almost 500, that would be the tip. 65% down would be 200. We're gonna have a pretty big correction. But it makes sense because we are overinflated. If you look at the Warren Buffett indicator, we are about 200% overinflated, 220% overinflated of where we should technically be based on the GDP. So that makes sense. We have been overinflated for a while, since around this area, right? Let me take a look at that Warren Buffett indicator. I think I want to find some details on dates specifically. When was the last time we were even, is the question. The last time we were even is 2013, and then we became overinflated 2013, around here. Okay, yeah, look how it coincides. And also this red line is a general, I guess I want to call it a breathing pattern of the market. Again, it goes up and down. You cannot deny the fact a market goes up and down. You just cannot. So in a general sense, this is what I found to be a nice sustainable. Even in times of crazy growth, you're going to have crazy breathing down, but you're going to have higher resistances or supports. Higher resistance, higher support, but you have to have this smooth breathing process, right? Breathe in, breathe out, breathe in, breathe out. Breathe in a lot, hard breathe out, but still better. Breathe in a lot again, etc., right? So this pattern seems to be, at least on a double pattern, good, because there's always something that happens that pushes it back down. The breathing has to, you have to breathe in and out in a general sense. And this is about the 2013, 2014 is when we left that breathing pattern and just went completely chaotic. And now that I kind of take a look at it, it makes sense also. That's what's happening in the Warren Buffett indicator. Around 2013, 2014 is where we left that pattern. And we are very much above, 216% overvalued. And that's kind of where we actually, I think, are, right? If I take a pattern value here, 177 times 2.2, yeah, I'd say we even more now, but you get the idea. So again, this is not actually calculated. This is just a pattern that I've noticed, and I've just drawn it by hand. So it can be anywhere within the plus or minus 20% value range. So maybe I can do a calculation based on the Warren Buffett indicator. We'll see. So yeah, we have quite a staircase down. And with all the political, economic issues happening, supply lines being stuck in most cases, people actually starting to buy in store because they don't trust that shipping is going to actually arrive at the right time. If you buy something today, you're going to receive it 2-3 months from now. Those are the issues that are happening, right? So yes, we have a lot of issues, and there's no reason why our market is overinflated. And I'm starting to agree with the concept of the SPY, the actual S&P 500, the measure of the American economy, to be the ultimate meme stock, or in this case, meme ETF, right? There's no logical, fundamental reason this is so high. Even Warren Buffett, one of the best businessmen in the world, has stated this, right? So I am very suspicious, and I am not entering the market anytime soon. Even I'm not even going to risk the fact that it could go up to here. I'm not even going to buy it at 460 because I want to sell it at 490, right? I'm not even going to risk that because it could be any moment that this thing collapses. It could be any reasoning. It could be a spontaneous reasoning also, right? The whole thing about the market is spontaneous, unaware action. So if I want to leave with my money before you do, and you are aware of these patterns and you know about this, and I'm listening to you talk about these possible patterns, I'm going to leave before, because now you are aware of what might happen, and potentially you are aware of my evil conglomerate 1% rich person plan. So I will actually go around that plan in order to actually make the maximum profit. So I'm just watching. I'm a spectator in the S&P, and maybe I will try and catch it a couple of times. I'll probably try and catch it here, a 1 or 2 shares of 300, maybe 10-20 shares down to 200, right? So yeah, not very happy with the US market, and especially the recent actions of the federal government. But if this goes down, there's a catalyst for crypto to go up. Lo and behold, this is the November-December area. So keep that in mind. There is a correlation of mistrust in the government to the trust in crypto. Reverse correlation. So economy goes down the tank, the toilet, crypto goes up high to new highs. That also correlates pretty well. I am just a human being with possible psychological predictions and some lines that are colored differently, but they're put there for a specific reason. And so far, I guess it's working out pretty well for me. All right. On a separate note, I'm playing with Shiba and LRC. I've noticed an interesting pattern, back and forth, right? Sometimes it's pretty obvious. When LRC goes up, Shiba goes down. When Shiba goes up, LRC goes down. Right? That's kind of the pattern. It's not always 100%, but I am seeing that pattern. I am in the long haul for LRC. Loopring, I think, is amazing. Why? Why is there such a hype behind it? Why have we basically risen so long? so much. I entered in the $1 value. It's not early enough, but still profitable. I've at least double, tripled the money I had. Now I can double, triple my Shiba when it goes back up. But why is LRC so sexy right now? Well, there's news that GameStop, a US company that sells games, wants to go into NFTs and is looking for a candidate crypto to use. There's rumors that there's communication between Loopring and GameStop. This is the first official, well, maybe second, because AMC is also entering the crypto market and will accept Bitcoin, Ethereum, Dogecoin, and some others. Probably Shiba as well, we'll see. I think that's when Shiba is going to go skyrocket. But the first interaction between the fiat capital market and the digital crypto market has just begun. Like officially, yeah, you can probably spend a couple of Bitcoin on some website and get a computer or some technical stuff from some geek who wants to buy stuff with crypto. Sure, that's totally fine. But the official mainstream talks are happening now between GameStop and Loopring and AMC and the top maybe 10 cryptos. So we're having an avalanche of growth happening, or I guess you can call it a reverse avalanche. Again, I think I can actually inverse this. That's fine. I can inverse it to go down as a positive and make it look like an actual avalanche. But we're having an avalanche of the main markets accepting crypto in some form. This is why the government's going crazy trying to regulate this and trying to push whatever regulations they can onto the crypto world. So we're having a lot of bad catalysts and a lot of awesome catalysts. And LRC is a victim of a fantastic catalyst between GameStop and Loopring. Now, is it official? No. Is it a rumor? Yes. Do you buy on the rumor, sell on the news? Possibly, right? That could drop back down. But here's my technical prediction. Maybe even fundamental. CoinMarketCap. There has been a trend of cryptos trying to reach the top 10. The top 10 is where they want to be at the moment, right? Top 3 is going to stay. Top 3, Bitcoin, Ethereum, Binance. Binance is going to stay. We have Solana recently came up. Cardano has been here chilling. XRP has been here chilling. Polkadot has been here chilling. Dogecoin was one of the first to join in on the top 10. Shiba is the second to join in on the top 10, but then it went back down to 11, which, all right, take a breather, Shiba. You've done a lot. Now, where is Loopring? It is 46 with a cap of 4 billion. This was 1 billion when it was $1. Think about that. Now, if there's so much hype, both mainstream, market news, and crypto news is basically, oh, it's going up, I'm going to buy so I don't miss out. But the fundamental market news is those two rumors, or the main rumor of GameStop incorporating NFTs through Loopring. Loopring is a level 2 Ethereum that is cheaper to process and transact, cheaper gas fees. So when I give you Loopring, the charge is cheaper than if I gave you Ethereum. If I give you 1 Ethereum, it's probably going to be like $500 of Ethereum as a charge fee. If I give you 5,000 Loopring worth, I'm probably going to just be paying $50, right? So that's kind of not a perfectly accurate difference, but it's still within the range of really cheaper, much cheaper, really cheap, much cheaper. So that's why I think Loopring is the next candidate for the top 10. How much would it take for Loopring to reach the top 10? It would take about 35 billion, which is not so bad. How many Looprings are there? Okay, we've seen Shiba go from 100 to top 10. Loopring going to top 10 is not inconceivable. So Loopring has 1.3 trillion LRCs available. So if we want 1.3, hold on. 1,327. I gotta do math. Hold on. 164. That's how many there are divided by the price of, let's say, 30 billion. Loopring has the potential of being $44. That's not bad for how much it is now. Is this near term? I don't know. I don't know how fast this news is gonna go. I don't know how fast the whales are gonna pile in, but they have been doing some hell of a pile in, and they might want to get in cheaper. So we might have a cooldown, technical cooldown, which we'll take a look at in a little bit, right? But it has a potential because people want to get in, but they want to get in cheaper, so they're gonna wait for that cheaper price. It's already gone 185% in a week. That's ridiculous. And if we extend that further, thousands of percents from when it was like 10 cents, 50 cents, right? So Loopring has, and I should have stayed in one of my accounts until Loopring, but I was a retard. But how can you predict these things to happen anyway? So it has a potential to go up to the top 10, at least for a breath, before it goes lower, back down to maybe 12, 13. If the consistency of the news is real, if GameStop actually does it, and they use Loopring NFTs and yada yada yada. If some of those positive catalysts stay long term, we are seeing Loopring stay up there. But there is this weird pattern of hyped coins going up to the top 10 and then cooling down. So 30 billion liquidity is your minimum top 10, right? Okay. All right. Wait, is that volume or circulating supply? Yeah, circulating supply. All right. Of course, right now, we can find a value of it currently if we take those same values. 13270626164, divide that by the 4252683,629 value. Backwards, I missed a zero somewhere. 13270626164 divided by, oh, I did it backwards. Oh, that's not billion, that's true. Oh, my brain. I'll have to readjust that. Hold on. I gotta even do the previous math. Okay, we have 4252683,629 in liquidity right now. Divide that by the number of coins, 13270626164. Oh my god, this calculator. Okay, you know what? Can I copy and paste? Please? Yay! Divide. And there's your current value estimation. 4.20, we're 3.20, we're currently at 3.23. So if, let's go that math round again. If we want to go top 10, we got to beat USDC with a 34 billion value. I thought it was doing trillions before and I screwed up. And this is how many coins and circulations there are. Can I please? What? No. Oh my fucking god. Delete. Clean the calculator. Why is it so hard to clean this stupid calculator? Microsoft can't even make a good basic calculator. I hope I didn't change any settings just now. Nope, I did change. What the fuck is that? Delete. What is this? Why are you on? Microsoft, why can't you make a basic calculator that works? Why do I need all this extra bullshit? There. So, okay, now 44.25. That's more accurate. So we have about a $25 value possible for our Loopring if the pattern continues and they boost Loopring to the top 10. Now, Dogecoin made it to the top 3 and pushed Binance, if only for a small second. That would be an interesting situation. I would not hold my breath for this, but if it does happen, we are looking at a very, very, very nice $78 value for Loopring. This would be in the utmost positive catalyst. GameStop does Loopring and uses NFTs in Loopring. Government doesn't fuck around with the regulations. People start using Loopring regularly. AMC accepts Loopring because, again, AMC is going to accept the top 10. They've already discussed accepting it. They've 100% accepted Ethereum and Bitcoin. They're probably going to accept Binance Coin. They're probably going to accept Tether. The community pushed them to accept Dogecoin. The Shiba community is now pushing also. So you're going to see this sort of community push to the main markets. So if Loopring even enters the top 10, that community is going to talk to AMC and be like, hey, look, you should accept us also. Okay. And then they get accepted. And then they go further up. Robinhood accepts Loopring. Webull accepts Loopring. All the major brokers and exchanges start accepting Loopring. That's going to push it to top 3. It may even stay. It may even stay because Loopring would become the kind of $20 bill, $20, $50 bill, right? It's common to use. Your Ethereum is like $1,000 bill. No one has an $1,000 bill, and you're not going to use $1,000 bill unless maybe you're going to be buying a house. Bitcoin is just a gold bar. You're not going to buy even a house with a gold bar. It just doesn't work that way anymore. So you have to also think of the monetary values psychologically that we have adjusted in our society. Bitcoin would be the gold bar. Ethereum would be some really high value that you would not normally use for regular transactions. Then we need something more feasible. Like one Binance coin is still $600. You're not going to be using 0.001 Binance to buy ice cream. That makes no sense. But if Loopring makes it up and it becomes $78 and ice cream costs $7, then yeah, you would use 0.01 to buy an ice cream cone, right? 0.01 Looprings would be $7.08 or whatever if we are at the $78 mark. So think of the psychological kind of association that we would have to readjust in our society if we do go into crypto, right? We're not going to spend 0.0000001 Bitcoin for an ice cream cone. That makes no sense. I mean, for some, but whatever, I don't care. It's just a number. But for most people that want to be financially capable of keeping track of their budgets, that's going to be a bit horrible, right? So that's why you're going to have these tiers of values associated with what we would normally use in a monetary system. Gold, high dollar values that nobody uses. Let me see. I don't even know the highest US dollar fiat value. Fiat money. Okay, I guess that's not the question to ask. Is there a $1,000 bill? Yes, apparently it's like a smaller cousin, 500 bill, the 1,000 bill was discontinued. Okay, so it was discontinued. But with inflation, I think you're gonna be back. Okay, so I think, yeah, pretty much $500 bill. Jesus, 1969? $1,000 would be worth like $1 million then. That would be like $1 million bill. Inflation calculator. Year. So $1,000 in 1969 would be worth, okay, $1 million, a little bit of exaggeration, would be worth $7,000, almost $10,000. So okay, I'm not so bad, right? I wonder what it would be earlier. What about like 1926, 15? Oh my God, 30 years for a half value. 1914, 26. Okay. Okay, $1 million was definitely a bit of a exaggeration. But okay. So yes, there's like a $500 bill, but I haven't seen one ever living in the United States. Have you? Has anyone? Unless you're probably a banker, you probably have not seen this bill. So there's a specific use for each value bill. Case in point, right? So that's what we're really looking at. Gold bar Bitcoin, $500 bill Ethereum, $100 bill maybe Binance coin, sure. Loopring might make it to the 4th place with the $50 bill, and I don't know, $1 bill Cardano, or maybe Doge, a couple of cents, right? You got, if you really put it into calculation, you're gonna have to go through the values, ratios, proportions, try to get some things, but I'm not gonna go through the detail because I don't even know if it's gonna be the sheer case scenario. But it is a psychological comfort for people to associate it that way. So instead of $1, $2, $10, $20, $50, $100, $500 gold bar, we're gonna have Bitcoin, Ethereum, Binance, Tether, blah 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 blah, right? So I think that's the future of how we're gonna be dealing with different currencies. So back to my point. I see best case scenario, Loopring go to 78. Worst case scenario, I can see it go to 10. Still a growth process. I mean, worst case scenario was a pump and dump and it's going back down to $1, but I think people are dedicated now and there's enough hype to actually constitute a good technical continuation. If we take the hour chart, we had a subsiding here from $1 to cents, $2 to $1. That consolidated quickly and cleanly. Now we rose a huge $3. We made it to 4, another psychological level, even numbers, keep them in mind. 2 was the last even number, but of course we didn't get to 2, we got to 175. 4 is the next one, we didn't get to 4, we got to 385. See how those psychological numbers play a part. But we didn't drop down. If we had a complete drop, then that would be a pump and dump, but we have a nice consolidation pattern again. Next possible blow up is from to, however you want to call it. We're probably gonna hover between 5 is gonna be a huge one, but if we pass through it without a problem, we're looking at 6 to 5, maybe 6 to 4, because it's gonna get wider and wider the bigger the values we get to. But if we pass those without a problem, we're gonna be between 8 and 7. 7 is gonna be a huge psychological number. 7 is a lucky number. It's almost psychologically embedded in our personalities, especially in certain cultures, depending around the world. 7 is normally a good number. 666 is a bad number, so that's also a psychological situation as well. Good or bad, it doesn't matter, right? Good or bad, it's a psychological number. There's gonna be a reaction to that value. So 666 is a bad number, it's probably gonna go down. 7 is a good number, it's still probably gonna go down. So don't think of psychological numbers as good or bad, you're thinking of them as those key points that people will react in a specific way. So since we've been consolidating here, I do see a good $6, 666 bounce down to 5. Between 7 and 5, we're gonna be in here for another consolidation, and I don't know from there. We could go down if there's no more hype, we could go back up, but Loopring is looking amazing. It's got great I don't know about the community, but it has a lot of good catalysts behind it, and because the GameStop squeeze community and the AMC squeeze community, they're in it, it will now have a holder community. And you know GameStop and AMC holders, they are what they call diamond hands. You take some coal, you diamond hand that coal, and you're gonna get diamonds, right? They want that diamond, they want the money, so they're gonna hold no matter what. Even if it drops down from 10 to $2, they will be holding, because we've seen how AMC dropped from 20 to 2 or 20 to $5, right? They are tolerant, they are pain tolerant, and they will hold. So that's another case. The community going behind LRC is the community behind GME and AMC. They will hold till they die. And that's kind of what I'm thinking is happening, right? All right, cool. Glad we can have this talk. Oh, Shiba, doing good. I see potential in it. Is it soon? Maybe. It's looking a little weak. It's been hovering down further and further. Lower lows, lower lows, lower lows. And Shiba also might be going into LRC. Dogecoin might be going into LRC. Shiba and Doge has a proportionate small holder members, community members that are AMC and GME, but not a lot. But it is consolidating well above on the 5 psychological value. Yeah, I know it's 4 zeros and a 5, but I'm just gonna call it 5. I don't care about the zeros. If I'm talking Shiba, you should already know there's 5 zeros in front of that 5, or 4 zeros. 4 zeros in front of 5. So we're doing well on the 5 psychological value. Guess what? We dropped to 4 at one point. This is the, this is the 5 minute. Okay. Let's look at the overall, right? Yeah. So we have a strong lower low, lower high push. We don't have any higher lows though. That's not a good sign. People are still holding and doing a good job at the $5, right? It could be reversed if whales jump in once they see that people will not sell below 5. Every time it's dropped below 5, people bought it up quick, up to 5. Drop below 5, bought it up quick. So that is a sign that when it gets to 5 or below 5, people are reacting positively. And the last time it dropped below 5, it got eaten up with a green candle. So we might have a reversal happening right now, which would mean we are going to go back up to the 8.8 value, possibly breaking that and going to kill a 0. I have seen news, psychological effect, news that some analysts are predicting a kill of a 0 on Shiba within the next month with a 1-2 top. I see it go to 1.5, 1.8 on a single bar before it breeds, and then we're going to kind of go around the 3 zeros 1 up and down below it, trying to consolidate on that value, I think, personally. So that's what I've been doing. I've been playing between LRC and Shiba. Last night was a fucking mess though. Last night I fell asleep and I was like, fuck it, I'm going in. And I bought in at what, 344? And now I'm holding at 330. I was holding down here at 306. I'm like, I don't know. I wouldn't completely recommend playing the waves. I went from 1,000 LRC to 640. So I do not recommend playing the waves. But I did increase my actual money value. I went from 1,000 to 3,000, not down to 2,200. So I did make double my money, triple, but because I'm playing around and I'm trying to get a feel for these value locations, I'm psychologically playing with these, risking a certain amount of my money, right? A certain amount of my coins. I'm still positive, but I'm less positive than I could have been if I just held on and just didn't play any of this. But on a different note, I went from holding 26 million Shiba to 22 million Shiba to 45 million Shiba. So I did increase my Shiba stake. I'm decreasing my LRC, but I'm again playing between the two. So I wouldn't recommend it. I'm just trying to train my brain to really start to accept my predictions, because honestly, I saw these happening, I just did not accept them, and I did not do the things I wanted to do because my FOMO brain's like, no, don't do it, it's gonna go up, and then it goes down. Or when it goes down, I don't buy it because, no, don't buy, it's gonna go down further, and then it goes up. So I'm psychologically fighting my own predictions with my intuition / gut feeling thing. With the gut feeling is basically always wrong in the stock market. Oh, that's it. Oh, or the crypto market or stock market, it doesn't matter. Oh, so that's my predictions, that's my consolidation, that's my opinion, not financial advice on anything I have said. I am not a financial advisor. Does it look like I am? No, do not assume I am. I don't feel like I have to put a disclaimer on. There's not a lot of people that are going, onto my videos, so I'm not one of those big YouTubers that has to put a disclaimer because they're being watched by officials for fake information or non-registered or non-licensed advice or whatever they call it. I'm not a legal advisor, so whatever. I'm just some guy on a computer that can program and they can watch charts and that has this good at math. So that's all I am. Not financial advice. Have a good day. I'm done babbling about all of this. Hope you are doing great. Hope life is treating you well, and I will see you next time when I